So thank you very much, Lionel and David and Tel Aviv Startup Hub for welcoming us and giving us the opportunity to introduce Joy Ventures and well-being trends to this group. And thank you everyone who's joining us this evening. I'm here with my colleague Sabrina, who is our marketing director. So we're both happy to get to know you all and to answer questions, primarily to have an open discussion. I think I'll try to keep my sort of formal remarks short about joy and well-being trends so that we'll have enough time to hear about your ideas and to answer any questions. As we're a relatively small group, hopefully we can have a nice conversation and hear some interesting pitches. So we're Joy Ventures. Tell you a little bit about us. We're actually a startup studio, and we both invest in companies as well as help build new ones from scratch. So effectively, we have a dual model, and I'll get a little bit into what each one of those activities covers. But effectively, what's important for you to know is that we are a very domain-focused fund. So we only build, fund, support companies in the well-being domain, in companies that focus on developing and marketing products that help people feel good, that focus on the consumer experience and having a meaningful impact on people's well-being. And the first thing that we do is we invest in companies. That's the more straightforward activity, which is, finding very innovative companies that are either developing or marketing. They could be physical products, they could be digital products. We really are very agnostic to what the form is of the product, who the target audience is, as long as this is about having an impact on some aspect of people's well-being. And since this is a very young, nascent category, although fast growing in Israel and in the world, we maintain a very flexible approach in terms of how we invest, what stages we invest in, the check sizes we write. We're very, very flexible and very founder friendly. At least we aim to be. We hope that's what that's the experience that we give to people who interact with us. We love hearing from people, getting to know people. We like to make ourselves accessible. And this is actually a slide that just gives you a very, kind of snapshot of the kinds of companies that we've invested in so far. We currently have 10 portfolio companies, and I won't take the time now to go to talk about each one in detail, but you can visit our website and dig into what each one of those companies does. And while each one addresses a very different need with a very different approach and technology, they all really have one thing in common, which is that they all address and aim to have a meaningful impact on consumer well-being. Again, different needs, different demographics in terms of target audience, different technologies, different science, but all aiming at advancing consumer well-being and helping people feel good. The other side of our activity and our operating model is about venture creation. So since, again, this is a very young category, and we initially focus most of our efforts on the local Israeli ecosystem, we decided that it's in our best interests to help founders and to really be there as a partner to help founders identify, to learn about the opportunity, the market opportunities, to learn about the needs, about the unmet, the unmet needs that are out there, and the opportunities to innovate, to connect them to groundbreaking research and science, and really just kind of make accessible the space of well-being so that they can feel more comfortable to come in and innovate and start a new venture. So we run various programs that are really designed at helping founders come up with new ideas and start new ventures. And the most probably relevant one for this audience to speak a little bit about is our Entrepreneur in Residence platform, which essentially is a program in which we partner with ideally experienced founders. We look for people who've been there, done that before, and kind of don't need to be educated about what it's like to start a company or what that journey is like. They don't need to come from they don't need to have a background in consumer startups or in well-being. That's our job to kind of bring them into that world. But we look for people who do have experience in entrepreneurship, and we work with them to understand the market, so that they can either come up with their own ideas for products, or if they already have their ideas, to help them validate those ideas and ultimately bring to market with our funding and assistance, the next generation of products that will impact consumers' well-being. So within that package, we offer to them not only financing for basically it's a project phase in which they come in, they earn a salary, they receive a development budget, during which time they dive deep into some of the validated market needs that we've identified. They get access to a lot of domain expertise in terms of whether it's literature, market research, experts in our network. They get to sit with us and kind of be a part of the Joy team, see the deal flow, learn about the space from various angles, and ultimately, of course, if they're able to do these things on the bottom, which is to come up with a new idea once they've validated a certain need, develop some kind of a prototype, prove this, do some initial validation to this product concept, put together an initial team and put together a plan, then hopefully we reach a point where we invest and we launch a new venture together with them. So this is a program that we're super excited about. We currently have 3 entrepreneurs in residence on board. A couple of them will hopefully very soon be starting new ventures with us. And we're always looking for new people to partner with. So if this is something that you think could be relevant for you, we'd be happy to hear from you. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're excited about in this space, why we're excited about it, and what are kind of the trends that we're following in this domain. So for those of you who don't know, if it wasn't, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I really had to pitch this. I think now it's obvious, right? It's obvious that this is a word that, no one needs to be introduced to. And if it was growing before COVID, everything's just been accelerated and catalyzed in terms of people's awareness, their understanding of the importance of, taking care of themselves, managing their, whether it's stress, anxiety, sleep, healthy habits, everything to do with maintaining a healthy lifestyle and making sure we take care of our mental well-being, not only our physical well-being. This is something that everyone now knows. Some of these numbers are actually not even up to date, but I can tell you that I just looked up today to see how many downloads of wellness apps there are in 2021. And the latest forecast that I saw is that for 2021, there's a forecast of 1 billion downloads of mobile wellness apps. So my point being that, people around the world are demanding. It's not just the awareness, like, yeah, I should be doing this. It's that people are actually taking action, and they're starting to take better care of themselves, and they're looking for solutions. And I can tell you that what's out there today is really just the first generation of products and solutions. And many of them are not yet, very, let's say, very groundbreaking. They're kind of first generation. They may not be groundbreaking technology. They may not be offering very personalized experiences. And so we believe that there's still a huge opportunity for innovation in this space. And it's still quite a blue ocean in most categories within well-being, where there are a lot of opportunities for new products and new innovations. But the demand is certainly there. So what are some of the key themes that we're watching in this space? First and foremost, if we look at well-being as a whole, the part that we get most excited about is really the mental well-being, the emotional well-being. So think less about, necessarily physical fitness or even, yeah, I guess physical fitness is kind of the obvious. The one we're excited about is really more the mental or the emotional well-being, because that's where there's really been a big jump in recent years, and it's just, becoming more and more significant, where it has really become a top priority for consumers. Their priorities are really shifting towards taking care of their mental well-being, and it's something that people are now talking about freely, where in the past it was like someone else's problem. Now, after this past year, it seems everyone is affected, and it's hit home pretty much in every household. People understand the impact that anxiety and stress and lack of sleep and uncertainty, all these things can have on our overall sort of quality of life and health. We are seeing that Gen Zs and millennials literally, equate a healthy mind with healthy body. It's something that it's no longer can be separated. It's really a much more, holistic approach to well-being and to health. And 51% of consumers have increased their focus on this. Not to mention, of course, that meditation and mindfulness apps are just, downloads are just through the roof. So these are just some statistics and examples, but this is a space that we still believe is far from being, far from being hacked. Okay, there's still a lot of innovation to be achieved there, and clearly we're seeing that investors are also putting money into this space, and it's quite a sort of range of let's say of areas within this. So anything from mental well-being to mental health is kind of a broad range, but today it's hard to separate. It's a gray area, right? I mean, a lot of us, I think, are experiencing symptoms that, maybe it's not something that would require us to necessarily or cause us necessarily to go be diagnosed, but we know that these symptoms are, we feel that we should do something to take care of ourselves. And so investors are also realizing that there's a huge opportunity and huge demand. So what else are we seeing in this space? Basically, everybody is looking to incorporate wellness into their lives. And it's also something that's no longer, there's no clear cut division between well-being or wellness and healthcare. So, where in the past healthcare focused primarily on treating disease, now, most of the healthcare payers and providers are focusing a lot on prevention and healthy lifestyle and maintaining well-being. Even I was surprised last year when I went for my annual physical checkup. Most of the questions that my doctor actually asked me were like, how is your marriage? How stressed are you? How are the kind of what is your social life like? I mean, it was all these questions. I said, like, what does that have to do with, with me being, 48 years old and having various risk factors? No, he cared about, about the kind of the emotional risk factors, essentially. And so now that's how payers and providers and employers are looking at this space. It's no longer about sort of like, binary, like, okay, like people with chronic disease versus, people who are healthy. It's just how do we approach taking care of people in a way that basically optimizes people's health and well-being, no matter what kind of life circumstances they have, whether they're, they're living, whether they're completely healthy or whether they're living with some chronic condition. If you're living with a chronic condition, you can still take care of your, emotional well-being and perhaps even improve the physical health outcomes as a result. So focusing on prevention, focusing on healthy life behaviors, and optimizing people's health and well-being. Another important trend that we're seeing is that there is more and more focus on employers having to offer well-being solutions to their employees. So in the past, large organizations had, focused again on like making sure that, maybe their employees had access to like a gym membership, or maybe they were making sure that people had access to like substance abuse support and things like that. But today, it's going, far beyond that, and employees are expecting it, especially the younger generations are expecting that there'll be a very clear, mental wellness approach when it's even something that is, it is affecting employer branding. I mean, places of work are now actually focusing on, okay, how do I attract, one of the things that they need to do to attract the best talent is to show that they are also taking care of their employees' mental well-being by offering various solutions through their insurance or through other channels. And they're looking at happiness as a value and other other indicators that this is something that they put as a top priority. Another trend that we're seeing is that where many of the wellness companies started out going direct to consumer, more and more are finding that their true path to scale is through enterprises, whether it's going to employers, as I mentioned before, or going to payers, for example. So Calm, Headspace, Happify, some brands that you may be familiar with, even Noom, which is a weight management app. Many of them are actually now offering their solutions directly to employers and to health insurers, again, as a means for those organizations to support healthy lifestyle, healthy habits, and ultimately an improvement in health outcomes for their populations. And I think this is maybe one of the final points, that the whole aspect of not just emotional well-being, but social well-being is a very, very growing and critical trend, which is that, first of all, recognizing that social well-being is a very major determinant of overall health. So the more we are connected and have positive connections and relationships, the more likely we are to be healthier, to have fewer unhealthy days, to have a higher quality of life. It's obvious to most of us, but now there's a whole new generation of companies that are addressing this point, because there are still many people out there, especially in the last year, not only the older populations, but even the younger populations are saying that that they have a very strong sense of loneliness and social isolation. And so there are a lot of opportunities to innovate in the social domain, essentially. And I'm not talking about social networks, many of which actually have negative impact on well-being, but rather those that are actually enhancing real and meaningful connections for people in life. And those, by the way, two logos are portfolio companies of ours that are focusing on social well-being. So kind of close to summarizing here so we can have time left for discussion. We still believe that there's huge gaps and opportunities in this space. As I mentioned, most solutions today don't necessarily have evidence that supports their efficacy, nor are they personalized. They usually are kind of a one-size-fits-all type solution. So we like data-driven, evidence-based type solutions. And so we believe that there's a lot of opportunity to bring real impact, but also experiences that are more kind of seamless and frictionless for consumers. Because in order for consumers to obviously incorporate new habits, these products need to bring very very fun experiences for their users, things that are very convenient to use and that create a habit. Yeah, I love this quote. It's not mine. I think it's from a Harvard article that recently came out, which is, obviously we all wish we had good genes so that we could live a long life, but actually joy is better. And joy actually has been proven to also improve quality of life, to improve longevity, increase longevity, And so that's what we're focusing on. And so we invite you all to help us create joy through coming up with the next generation of consumer well-being startups. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to hearing some of the pitches and answering your questions.